If the trade war with the United States continues to escalate, Canada may have an ace up its sleeve. Decades ago, as a response to the HIV/AIDS crisis, the World Trade Organization made it legal for countries to expropriate or copy pharmaceutical patents. This means it's legal for Canada to reproduce drugs that American pharma companies have patents on, doing obvious damage to their bottom line. It's not a common trade practice, but if we want to hit the U.S. where it hurts, it's exactly what our next guest thinks should be done. Joining us now is University of Ottawa professor Amir Attaran. Professor, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Ben.
So you don't think that the Canadian government's tactic of tit-for-tat tariffs is the right strategy. Why not?
Well, I actually think the tariffs that the government has done are excellent. They're as good as tariffs can ever get. So I'm not criticizing them. But what I'm saying is we are now in a larger trade war, clearly, because the U.S. has said it's imposing tariffs on Canada on national security grounds, something it's only ever done for Iran and Libya. How do you like that? We're packaged together with Iran and Libya now. Because of this extremely aggressive response, we have to be even more aggressive than the tariffs. The tariffs are good, but we need to move to the next level.
You'd like to see us go down this road. We used to do this in the 70s and the 80s, stopped doing it when we started integrating our economies, building trade relationships, much more robust trade deals with the United States. Why do you think that it's time to go down this path again?
Well, you see, when we brought in free trade in 1988 with the Americans, part of the deal was they would not put tariffs on us, and we would stop this practice of copying their drugs. They have a huge pharmaceutical industry, the biggest in the world, and they were very sore about the fact that although they had patents, we would essentially take those patents away and copy drugs. Canadian drug makers would do that, which gave us lower prices, but it destroyed the value of the American drug companies' patents. Now, that was the trade at the time. The Americans have reneged on their side. They're charging tariffs against us illegally, absolutely, positively illegally. If the Americans want to open that can of worms, we just need to show them our side of the deal doesn't hold either, and we'll return to copying those drugs. The pharma industry in the U.S. is worth over $1 trillion to their economy, $1 trillion. If we target that, they're going to feel it. That's how David can beat Goliath.
Professor, is the logic that it's such a huge part of the economy, which means it's also a huge lobbying force in Washington, therefore has the ears of a lot of legislators, a lot of people who control the levers of power. If we put pressure on that part of the industry, they will go and do our bidding in Washington for us?
That's exactly it, Ben. The American pharmaceutical industry spends more money in Washington on lobbying than, listen to this, the defense industry, plus the auto industry, plus the banking industry. Take those three massive industries, add them up, they still spend less on lobbying than the pharmaceutical industry does in the U.S. So if we poke a stick at the American pharmaceutical industry and say, you know, guys, you're now caught in this trade war between Trump and Trudeau, they will do more than anyone else in the United States could do to get out of that position. They'll go to their congressmen who they've basically bought in Washington, Democrats and Republicans alike, and say, do what's necessary to override the tariffs that Donald Trump has slapped on Canada. We don't want to be caught in this. In other words, the strategy, Ben, is to make use of the pharmaceutical industry's power to argue our case to get out from under tariffs.
Amir Attaran, thank you so much for being here today. Food for thought for sure.
Thanks so much, Ben.